Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking to my friend Karolina, who's actually my amazing classmate. And Karolina is currently doing a semester, well, technically a year abroad in Germany through a program called Erasmus. And I asked her to join us today to talk about the Erasmus program, answer some questions, and we actually received questions and we're going to answer all of those. So, without further ado, Karolina, would you mind telling us what Erasmus is?
Hi, Sarah. Yeah, so Erasmus is a program. Basically, it's a scholarship that is funded, and you can go with this. You can go for a period abroad, a mobility period abroad, to some certain countries. And yeah, basically, your stay will be funded. You will also get the recognition of credits. So it works in a way that basically, even if you do one semester or two semesters abroad or more, you can get all of the exams and also practicals recognized back at your home university in Italy. So it's a really nice program, and you can just have the opportunity to go abroad somewhere else, get to know some new people, experience living in a different country, and yeah, also get paid for it.
So, have you been enjoying your Erasmus experience?
Yeah, so far it's been really good. I've been in Germany for one semester so far. Now I just started my second semester two weeks ago. But it's been really good. It's really interesting how everything works here. I thought I knew a lot of things about Germany, but when I actually moved here, I just found out some new things that I had no idea about how everything works. And it's great also for me because I knew German before I came to Germany, so I'm practicing the language. I mean, it was like intermediate level, so now I'm just I'm learning the language and I'm really focusing on learning it. And I feel like I'm really improving because I moved here and I can speak to people. And this is really amazing. It's just a great opportunity.
So, I know that you don't necessarily need to know the local language, but you took on a huge challenge that you're actually learning in German, even though it's not your native language.
Yeah, so I come from Poland, and my native language is Polish. I learned English at school, and then later on we also had to take we had to take on a third language. So I could choose between German or French. I chose German. And yeah, I did learn German for a few years. And later on, I actually did receive a B1 certificate from German at some point, and it was from this Goethe. It's called that way. But basically, I had this certificate, and somehow I also started studying in Italy. So then, when I started studying in Italy,
Yeah.
I ended up in Italy. I focused more on Italian at that point because I thought, okay, I don't need to learn more German. But then I thought maybe actually I will use my German and I will go to Germany. And so, yeah, it turns out that it was very useful. I'm gonna be honest, it was really hard, especially the first months in Germany because of the fact that it's a different language. It wasn't definitely not as good as my English, and I would say worse than my Italian. So it wasn't good. Basically, like my German was I forgot a lot of things because I didn't focus on learning it for these few years. I forgot a lot of the language. And it was just different in the sense that I didn't know anatomy, for example. I didn't know what stomach is called, what a thyroid is called, what all of these things are called. So it was definitely challenging to switch also from studying in English to studying in German. And that was, I think, a really big challenge. And also another thing that's happened was the fact that we have a pandemic now. So the whole coronavirus situation made it, I think, also more difficult because it was really hard to meet people at first. And also just to figure out your schedule and how everything works here. It was just much harder because I just had to email people, call people, and so on. So yeah, these things were quite challenging, but I managed. And after just translating and studying, spending hours on slides, I felt that I started improving. And by the end of the semester in it was in February. I had exams and I managed to pass all of them, so I'm really happy.
Congratulations. I mean, I just have to say that it's like so incredibly impressive that you study in English, but you know Italian and German and Polish, and like you're doing medical studies in a different country, in a different language. One of the questions I actually got was like, basically, is Erasmus worth it? And I think you're a great person to ask this because you did say it was very challenging, especially with the language. But they actually said, does it add value to your personal knowledge in the field of medicine, or does it make it a lot harder in an already hectic schedule? Like, do you think it's worth it going through all of the difficulties you've gone through?
Yeah, so definitely it was challenging, especially for me the first semester. I think even if um, even though, for example, maybe I didn't have too many lectures scheduled, I would still have to spend a lot of time on each lecture, not only, first of all, to study and understand the topic, because there were new concepts, completely new subjects that I didn't study before. For example, gynecology, which I knew some diseases, but not so well. And it's a new subject, new concept. And basically, apart from that, I also had to understand the language and also study the slides and translate the slides. So each presentation, I was there. Each lecture, for example, I was there, but I still had to spend maybe 3 hours studying alone each subject and maybe even more, to understand the concepts, understand the language. So it was definitely challenging, but luckily, here it is organized in a way that we do not have so many I would say lectures and not so many like the schedule is not so hectic. I would say there is quite some time to study by yourself, which is different than what I'm used to in Italy. It has its advantages and disadvantages. In Italy, I liked that they really took their time the professors took their time to explain all of the concepts from even the basic things, and they started off by building up and they really explained to us everything. Here it's more like they guide you through these diseases and they tell you about these topics, but it's your responsibility to actually go into depth and study them and understand everything. So the schedule is not so hectic, but then you do need to spend a lot of time studying by yourself. And then this was, yeah, it was maybe a bit of a different also it was a different system also of studying, I feel like. So that was quite different, but I think it's really good. The opportunity itself to go for Erasmus is really good because you can also learn how a new healthcare system works. Here it's organized in a different way. And there are also some specialties like vary in their what, for example, what you do as a specialist, what your job tasks are. There are some residencies in certain countries that exist, in others they don't exist. For example, in Poland, an emergency medicine residency exists. You can be an emergency medicine doctor. Here, I heard that there's no such sort of special residency for that. At least that's what I heard. So this is also very interesting, and the whole I think the approach to patients is also different than what I have experienced in Poland or in Italy. So this is, again, you learn how doctors approach patients here. I think it's valuable.
Uh, yeah, I think so. I mean, I would say that it's very, very valuable. That's a really interesting experience. So you would say like overall that it is worth it, yes?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I would say overall it is worth it. And yeah, first of all, you
Okay.
get to experience a new healthcare system. You see how the patients are being approached, what rights the patients have, what the system is like, and of course, culturally and the whole social aspect for yourself. So, as a student, you get to experience the student life and things like that. So, I think overall it's worth it, yes.
So basically, like we kind of talked a little bit about the benefits, but more specifically, does doing Erasmus, do you know if it adds any value to like your CV in the future or for applications when you want to apply for a residency program? Is there a benefit of Erasmus outside of it's just an amazing experience that you go abroad and you get to like learn new things and meet new people? Is there an actual like academic benefit to doing Erasmus?
Yeah, so I know that in Italy, they don't pay attention to it when you apply for residency. I know you get these extra points at the end of your curriculum that they add to your final grade at the end of your medical studies, but basically that's it. When it comes to other countries, it really depends. I know that in Germany, they might appreciate it because they really look at your CV. So they know that you've had experience here. They know that you knew what it's like, that you lived here for a year. So it's not like you're completely, you don't know what everything works like. You just have some idea, a general idea of what it works like. And also they can see that, okay, you trained here, you learned some of the language, you're willing maybe to come back to improve even more. I think it could look good on your CV and it could help you potentially.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, like the other question was like, is it a valuable part of networking with other countries? And I would agree. Like, I think one of the most valuable things you can do in medicine is to network with as many people as you can, because it is kind of unfortunate that medicine is a little bit like nepotism, where you can get incredible opportunities based on who you know. And the way you get to know people is to just go to as many different things and like meet as many people. And, that extends to in different countries as well. And I think Erasmus might be a great opportunity for that.
Definitely, definitely. I know people who did their Erasmus in Germany and then they came back to actually do residency in the same place that they were doing the Erasmus, or and so it really helps if you also do some networking while being here and you get some connections, because really these connections are very valuable, because also someone maybe can tell you, okay, we don't have a place here, but we can recommend you somewhere else, or we can tell you about some other spot. And this is really amazing because then by some recommendation or by some sort of push, you can, get a great opportunity from that.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you picked Germany, but what do you think are like the most common countries to exchange with, or what goes into a consideration before you pick a country to go to, or like the availability of a country?
Mm-hmm. So basically, I would say I would divide it into sort of two, um, I don't know how to say it, two different groups, because the first group would be the one where we have those countries that accept students just without any other certificate, but just an English certificate or just the knowledge of English. And I know that at our university at La Sapienza, you automatically are assigned a minimum C1, I think, if you are in our course. So if you study medicine in English, you're automatically assigned a C1 level in English, and you can qualify to all of these universities. And these are mainly the Netherlands and Norway. I know there's also Croatia and I think also Czech Republic, if I'm not mistaken. There were some different countries, and usually to those you can get a spot in those countries, but it is quite competitive because there's no other requirement. So most people do actually know English. The people that apply, they do actually know English. So it's quite competitive because this is the most common language to know. So yeah, I would say that there's quite a lot of competition for these spots. And then the most competitive, I think, place used to be Cardiff in the UK, but now I know that due to Brexit, it's apparently not going to be on the list anymore for us. And then there are these other countries which require for you to have a certificate in their specific language. So, for example, France, which you need to know French. There's no way you can study in English there. The same for Spain. There are no English programs there. So basically, these countries, I would say they're also competitive. And the thing for Italy is that I think many Italians do know these languages, in particular Spanish, for example, because it's kind of close to Italian, but also French, because it's also not too far. But yeah, these are very common places to go to. And then German, I would say there are also, this year, from what I heard, it was quite competitive as well. I think many people just decided to learn German and decided to start applying there. But it used to be a bit less competitive because not many people knew German, and you needed a certificate because you have to know German to study in Germany. So again, it kind of depends on which place you decide to go to, where you apply to. But yeah, I would just say that if you definitely are thinking about going to France at some point, then I would suggest start studying French. Or if you don't want to learn any other language, you can always apply to those English programs. But you have to keep in mind that you should probably be up to date with your exams, and they also look at the average. So.
Yeah, so you mentioned that it was competitive. So, like, is it very common for Italian medical students from our program, the English program, to go on Erasmus? Like, do you know if a lot of our colleagues apply?
Yeah, I know that there are some people who applied. I think actually quite a few. And every year there are people, because we sort of have this note next to our names that we are in the English course, so you can see that a certain amount of people apply from our course. And yeah, I would say quite a few people. Also, we have to consider that our course is quite small. You know, we only have these 45 or so people per year, more or less. So it's much smaller than the Italian course. But the thing is that we are competing together. So all the people from the Italian course and all the people from the English course, we're all competing together for the same places. That's why it's kind of competitive. But yeah, I would say that these people from the English course still do get places, and quite a few do go for exchanges. So I know that this one person now is also in Belgium on Erasmus. So I'm not sure exactly where. I know one person was also in Cardiff in the UK. So there, I would say quite a few people try to get those spots.
I mean, it makes sense. It's an incredible experience. So, kind of one of the last questions I want to ask you is about the time frames of Erasmus, because I know that, like, depending on the type, you can go for like 2 weeks or a semester or maybe a year. And could you, like, kind of clarify how long people go on Erasmus for?
Okay, yeah. So minimum, there are these two main types of the exchange. So the first one is the traineeship, Erasmus traineeship, which is a minimum of 2 months and maximum of 3 months. And you cannot go for any shorter period or longer period. So this is that. And then we have the regular Erasmus to study, which is just Erasmus. They call it just Erasmus. So basically, this is what I'm doing now. And this used to be also a minimum of 3 months. I know that, yeah, for example, Cardiff in the UK had this agreement for 3 months, but most of them usually last between 5 to 6 months, let's say that's one semester, or 10 to 12 months, which is considered as 2 semesters. And these are usually these timeframes. My agreement is for 10 months for 2 semesters. So yeah, most people, I know that they go for either one semester or 2 semesters. This is how it looks like. And also, it is important that we can do a total of 24 months of Erasmus during our 6 years of studying. So yeah, the total can combine up to 24 months abroad. So for example, I am doing only 10 months, let's say, but I could still do 14 more months if I wanted to.
Only 10
Yeah.
months, only.
Yeah, exactly.
So I do also know that depending on the length of time that you choose to do Erasmus, that you get like bonus points in your diploma, because your average kind of when you're graduating is based on your exam average, but there are ways to increase your score. And I think doing Erasmus is a way to boost your final score, like independent from your average. So I think you also said that like the amount of time you do correlates to how many bonus points you get, right?
Yes, exactly. So there in Sapienza, it works this way that we have one extra point if we go for one semester, which is 5 to 6 months. I think they calculate this as 5 months and 16 days minimum. 5 months and 16 days counts as these 6 months, and that's when we get one extra point, and then two extra points if we spend any time more than 6 months abroad. So basically, I would get 2 points extra on my diploma.
Cool. And is there anything that like you would like to share with anyone who's considering doing it? Like what I want to know kind of like your personal experience. Like, are you loving it? Are you hating it? I know that I've been seeing your posts on Instagram where you have been kind of talking about it. So like if by the way, just as a by the way, if you guys are interested at all in learning more about studying medicine here or in Germany, you should definitely go and see Karolina's Instagram. I will be linking it everywhere as well as her YouTube channel. And she has written really, really good articles for the website. But the plug aside, like what would you love to share with people who are considering doing Erasmus, or a warning, or just like anything personal? Like what would you like to share?
Okay, so I will just say from my experience, it might seem kind of overwhelming at first because there's a bit of bureaucracy and all of that, but I think it's worth in the end, definitely worth it in the end. And if you can, just apply and try. I actually wasn't sure. I didn't know if I will get in. I didn't believe in myself at first, but I thought, okay, I'll give it a shot. I will just try it. And I personally applied in my third year for go in fourth year, but I applied for Cologne, and I didn't know that the program would not correspond well to what we have back in Italy, back in Rome. So basically, I could not establish sort of feasible learning agreement, like the learning agreement, which is the subjects that you take abroad. They would not count well. It would be just hard to calculate them back to the subjects that we had in Rome. So I did not actually manage to go to Cologne. And a year later, I decided, okay, I will try and maybe reapply, and I will just apply to different places. And then I applied to Bonn, which is, by the way, just like half an hour from Cologne. Yeah, I ended up in Bonn, luckily. Yeah, I would definitely give it the advice of checking the subjects that you can take, what you can do abroad in these universities, making sure that what country you want to go to, kind of try to decide which place you want to go to, and then check online if you can actually do it. And then yeah, just try and apply. You might get a spot. Like I got a spot. I wasn't sure if I'll get one, but I managed to do so. So yeah, I would say give it a shot.
Oh, awesome. That was such a nice little positive note to end it on. So I think I'm going to end this part of the video here because it really was just meant to be something really quick to give people an idea. And we had questions that were asked, and I thought you would just be the perfect person for it. So thank you so much. Again, for those of you who are watching this, I really, really highly recommend that you go to Karolina's Instagram because she writes really high quality posts about everything you can imagine about studying medicine in Italy. But also, I will link her YouTube account, and also we have a more in-depth article that she actually wrote on the website as well. And if you have any other questions you would like to know, you can always leave them in the comments or contact us. And yeah, Karolina, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks so much.
Bye.